From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Well, happy Sunday morning to you. You know, there's a lot to unpack today. We got to talk about the fires. We got to talk about the potential for rain and maybe even some thunderstorms again this afternoon. Although, I think about the activity we saw yesterday. A lot of thunderstorms, a lot of lightning strikes. I don't think it's going to be quite as active today. It's going to be more in the form of some rain, thanks to some of the moisture coming in from Hurricane Hillary, or once was Hurricane Hillary at that point. But of course, then we'll talk about Hurricane Hillary. Now, when we start talking about the fires, you can see all the fire perimeters that we can see right here. It's been mainly in the northwestern side of the state. One thing I want you to remember is there are a lot of evacuation watches and warnings and orders and closures. And here's my best advice to you. I mean, I could sit here and talk to you for 20 minutes and take you through all the closures, evacuation watches, and warnings. But here's the easiest thing to do. I want you to go to weathernorcal.com and then tap and click on the fire section. From there, you can go to the watch duty part of it and click on the particular fire that you're concerned about. That will show you all at the very top. Once you click on that fire on the right side, at the very top, it'll show you start with all the evacuation warnings and watches and the works. So be sure to do that. Check that out. You can scroll down farther down onto the fire page of weathernorcal.com. And there is, of course, Zone Haven. Of course, now it's the Genesis project, but that's where you can also find out where the evacuation watches and warnings are. It's a moving target. It's constantly changing and moving, and that's why it's really, quite honestly, you know, I can tell you at this very moment what's happening, but 10, 20, 30 minutes from now, it may change. And that's why it's best for everyone who lives in these areas to really stay on top of it. All right, so let's start with it. Let's start with the fire perimeters. There you can see all of them. We're going to take a look at some of the bigger fires and their vicinity to the community. Keep in mind, these are all just generalized numbers to give you an idea of where and how far the fire perimeter is from you. So, for example, the eastern fringe of the fire perimeter of the head fire, Klamath River, approximately 9 miles. Now we've got the den fire to be concerned about for Horse Creek, 1.6 miles there, so a little bit closer than the head fire. And there you can see the head fire is about 0.8 miles from Scott Bar. Now we take you off to the west side of the fire and Syed Valley, about 7.5 miles. Now at a point I was actually showing you the distance to Happy Camp. That's not the concern anymore. Now it's the Malone fire at about 6.2 miles from Happy Camp. Now we take you to the south side of the fire here. You can see Scott Bar, the head fire, the south end of it, 21 miles from Edna. But a bigger concern here is the Scott fire, which is now 14.2 miles from Edna. So that's something we've got to watch as well. 13.3 miles from Fort Jones, and the head fire, the east side of it, the perimeter, that is 17.9 miles from Wairika. All right, let's take you out to the deep fire in Trinity County. This has actually moved a little bit closer to the Trinity Alps Resort. In fact, about a mile closer than it was 24 to 36 hours ago. There you can see 6.7 miles from Covington Mill, 11.4 from Trinity Center, and about 15 miles from Coffee Creek. And taking a look at Highway 299 right here, over 10 miles for Helena, Junction City, and Weaverville. So this has grown a little bit to the south, but by about a mile as it got closer to, of course, that Trinity Alps Resort. Smoke this morning is actually not going to be that much of a concern because we're going to be looking at a little bit of rain out there possibly this morning. And then as we go into the 5 p.m. hour today, there we can see not much in the way of smoke out there. Most of it's going to be in the vicinity of where the fires are. However, by late tonight, we actually may see a plume of smoke make its way down into the Red Bluff, Chico, and Willows area, but then that will pretty quickly retreat and then shouldn't be as bad as we go into your Monday morning. All right, so we talked about the fires. We talked about the perimeters here in the Northstate. What I want to do is just kind of start talking about the potential for rain, for thunderstorms. And of course, Hillary, right? Hurricane Hillary is going to bring rain and thunderstorms Sunday, today, and Monday. Less thunderstorm activity, though, as we go into next week. You know, you think about last week, just the amount of thunderstorms that we saw, all the lightning strikes, and as a result, all those fires I'm reporting on, right? That's the issue. But the good news is I am seeing some light at the end of the tunnel as far as less in the way of thunderstorm activity that should help give the firefighters and all of us a bit of a break, right? And then cooler temperatures too. It was hot last week. Temperatures in the valley well over 100, 110 degrees. This week, it looks like, especially as we go into next week, we're talking temperatures in the mid-90s, give or take, for the valley. So here's what it looks like today. You've got the clouds and some showers this morning, turning over to partly cloudy skies and drier conditions for the afternoon. There you can see some of the showers in the morning hours, but it should dissipate by the second half of the day today. Looking at the mountains, showers, maybe even some thunderstorms, not only this morning, but even as we go into the afternoon. So there's a look at Futurecast. This morning, of course, the showers are in the forecast, but then it should start to dissipate in the form of some scattered showers, mainly in the higher elevations. But what we'll notice here, you see how we're not seeing as much activity here. This is a good sign. This means we're not going to see as many lightning strikes. Now, we can't rule out a few thunderstorms this afternoon, but we're not going to see a ton of activity, it looks like. Again, when we compare it to what we saw yesterday, it's not going to be nearly as active. Now, the second shot of moisture coming in from Hurricane Hilary is going to be on Monday. Now, this is when I think we're going to see some of the heaviest rainfall, and on top of that, there may be some thunderstorms embedded in there. Okay, so we have to kind of keep that in mind. We go into noon on Monday. Now it's kind of pushing a little bit more off to the west, some heavier rainfall to the west, not to mention to the north and east. And once again, especially down to the south, we could see some more thunderstorms, unfortunately. Here's Monday afternoon. Now, it's not just the mountains, but maybe even the valley could see a straight thunderstorm as well Monday afternoon. We could see some thunderstorms for some of the higher elevations as well. Again, we're talking about lightning strike potential again. Monday night it dries out, and as I mentioned, and I mentioned this yesterday, there may still be some leftover moisture from Hilary on Tuesday, which would mean the potential for convective thunderstorms on Tuesday. And unfortunately, there could be some more lightning strikes. But at this point, Tuesday looks to be the last day that we've got chances for thunderstorms. After that, I think it's going to be the skies clear and no more thunderstorms for the rest of next week. So that first push of moisture coming in on Sunday today, we take you into Monday, the second push of moisture, heavier rainfall, as I mentioned, maybe in a few thunderstorms. And you'll notice the heaviest rainfall to the east, you start to see less and less rainfall as you start heading to the west, as a kind of general, right? So we take a look at Hilary. There are all kinds of hurricane watches and warnings and tropical storm watches and warnings. That's obviously not a concern for us, but what is going to be a concern for our neighbors to the south are the gusty winds. We're already probably hearing about the damage. We'll hear about more of it today, not to mention the heavy rainfall could produce flooding, mudslides, debris flows down into Southern California, and not to mention into Baja as well. There you can see the track of the storm right here. This is the track of the storm. This is where the heaviest rainfall, but still a lot of rainfall on the outer fringes of the main track of the storm, which means some flooding and those mudslides and debris flows that I was talking about. All it's going to mean for us, though, is just some decent rain in some areas, and maybe the winds picking up a little bit. It's still going to be a tropical storm down to our south and east, but maybe gusts upwards of 20 to 30 miles per hour for a short period of time. All right, so here's what we have in store for us for your Sunday. Temperatures are going to be the upper 80s and low 90s. We're going to start off with some showers this morning, possibly, right? And then as we go through the afternoon, I think we're going to be looking at drier conditions. Showers, thunderstorms in the higher elevations for today, not only this morning, but even this afternoon. And when we look at your 7-day forecast, what we're going to see here is that we're going to continue to see that chance here as we take you on into your Monday as well for Mount Shasta, Alturas, and even Susanville. I've included a slight chance on Tuesday. I'm hoping that by tomorrow I can take that out. But bottom line, next week is dry and no more lightning strikes after Monday or Tuesday. Now, what you're seeing here is a slight chance for a few showers. I'm not anticipating any thunderstorms on Friday for places like Mount Shasta or Alturas. There's going to be a weak disturbance that may bring some light showers in extreme Northern California. All right, so here's your 7-day forecast for the valley. We've got the showers this morning, which will then turn over to partly cloudy skies and drier conditions for the afternoon. There may be a few stray showers, by the way, in the afternoon today, but most of them will be this morning. And then we've got the showers and maybe even some thunderstorms here for Monday afternoon. I've included a slight chance even for the valley for a stray shower on Tuesday. But bottom line, it's going to be drier, especially after Monday or Tuesday. And temperatures not warming up a whole lot either. Again, remember we were talking about those temperatures that we saw last week. As we go into next week, we're talking about temperatures in the low to mid 90s.